Welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing and where we don't offer to double your Bitcoin. If you give it to us, we will be keeping it. And now, your host, the trio of trouble. We first have a wild Romina appears. And your second host, Audrey. I'm adopting cats now and being a crazy cat lady, Ember. And your third and final host. He is the final boss of every single level in the game we call life. And your personal adversary in all things, Roberto Blake. Welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. Please like and subscribe.
Incredible.
Yeah, no, I came with the jokes. I delivered.
That was good.
That was incredible.
I'm getting better.
What I said.
Yeah.
Listen, I can't have the same opinion as you. Clear we have different. It's clear we have opposing opinions about a lot of things.
I'm supposed to be the bad guy here. I'm supposed to be the bad guy here. That was my designated role. That was the agreement we struck. It was the bargain we made.
All right.
That was in the contract.
It was in the it's in my rider.
I made an addendum.
I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
So, how are you guys doing this week? Aside from, major networks being hacked and whatnot.
Well, I can
Yeah,
tweet
I don't
again.
really know what happened with that. Like,
Well,
I tuned in after it happened, so I was just kind of confused with
I also tuned in after
What
it
was
happened
happening?
because
Yeah.
I happened to block. I have this app called Self Control on my computer. And so I just block apps like for 2-3 hours at a time, or websites, not apps, so that I can focus and just not get tempted by, browsing Reddit and
Yeah.
going through our conspiracy. So I decided to do that. And I was gone for like 4 hours. And then like I look at my text messages, and you guys are talking about Twitter being hacked and like all this stuff, and I'm just like, what? What's going on?
Yeah, I was only locked out of Twitter for like I think maybe all of maybe an hour in terms of that, and the only reason that I even noticed was specifically because I was trying to post something about a sponsored thing I was doing, and so I was trying to give a sponsored thing I was doing some extra push, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, can't tweet. I'm like, have I been hacked or what's going on? And then I like, oh, is Twitter down? It's like, what's going on? I see other people tweeting that. Oh, I'm verified. They locked me down. Gotcha.
It's so weird. Wait, isn't it? Like, I just saw something quickly, but people are saying, like, this is a bigger deal than it.
Oh, yeah, I've been saying it. It's a bigger deal. It's a lot. I mean, I'm going to watch Jarvis's video after this while I finish the touches on my video that I'm releasing and work on my thumbnail. Actually, I'll watch his video while I work on the thumbnail, but yeah, it's for a lot of reasons. I mean, for a couple hours there, and that's just when Twitter caught it. They had access to everything. We don't know how long they had access to everything. They could have been tweeting from, they had the ability to tweet from anybody's account, including the President of the United States, and everyone's distracted by the fact they tweeted some Bitcoin scam, and they scammed like 250,000 or plus Bitcoin. That's a lot of money in the hands of some bad hombres. So who knows what else they were up to? Who knows what DMs they got? What phone numbers, email addresses? There's no telling, and like there's no telling what happens with that. And we don't know what they had access to, and they could have done worse. And we don't know that they can't continue to exploit this. And it's weird to find out that Twitter had all these admin tools, and we didn't know that they could be doing like we didn't know how much power Twitter had until today. So that's fun. Yeah, so it's kind of a big deal. But the more important thing is that for 3 glorious hours, the unverified folks got a moment in the sun, and that's what everybody's in their feelings about and everything like that. It's like, cry me a damn river. whining about not having.
I don't understand what the whole thing is with the verified and the non-verified. Like, what does that have anything to do with getting hacked? Like, what's the problem there?
Yeah, potential anarchist and terrorist destroying the fabric of our society and having access to global leaders, private information.
Well, I understand that part,
like,
but I'm asking,
no, I'm saying,
why are people...
People don't care about that, Romina. They care about the fact that they care about the fact that all of these verified people and everything like that got a taste of what it is to not be important for a couple of hours. And that's what they want to be. That's what they want to talk about.
I see.
Yeah.
People are so...
It's more haves versus have-nots BS.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I don't know.
I'm just over here tweeting about the podcast right now, so that's why I'm a little bit...
I mean, like, I don't get why people are so mad that they're not verified. What'd they do? Like, I mean, usually, and I mean, there are probably exceptions and stuff like that, but I'm like, people who get verified, it's more about protecting their followers from scams, because guess what happened? Somebody got a hold of all these verified accounts, and what'd they do? They perpetuated scams, and they grifted people, right? So, like, isn't being verified more about having followers and then protecting said followers, or that you're a trusted person, and therefore people need to know, hey, it's you, so that when you promote or say something or whatever, they know it's you, versus somebody using your name to do harm to those people or others. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's not a clout thing unless you make it a clout thing. And if you were going to make it a clout thing, it's like, oh, I don't know, do something noteworthy with your damn life. I don't know.
Speaking of doing something noteworthy, today we're going to be talking about filmmaking. Maybe.
I'm down.
I think we kind of tossed that around.
Keep getting better.
Right? I'm just so good at this. I mean, there's a reason why they call me the networking queen. Because whenever I go to networking events, I just know how to segue into the next thing.
Yeah. It's a good segue. I mean, I think we did have to address current events,
But I think that we kind of... I'm not sure how this came up. I think we were talking about superheroes at some point.
We were.
And then we got off of the podcast. We weren't recording anymore. And sometimes, guys, like when we're recording these podcasts, like we'll keep talking for like another half hour or hour afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think at one point we were talking about like creating like a show or something like that. And then
we were talking about writing
filmmaking.
like what we'd want to write and like things we'd want to either adapt or ideas we'd have for like making a film or something, or writing a treatment for a film.
And then I think Audrey said that she wanted to talk about the actual filmmaking process. She said she had questions or things like that. I don't know. So we're just going to talk about it. We all like movies here. And I've been making movies forever.
I'm a failed amateur filmmaker.
What are movies?
I'm legit a failed...
Well, actually, that's a really great question, though.
Audrey.
Let's get into that argument.
That is a really great... What
movie?
is a movie?
We're going to get all these film people...
Is there a difference between... Is there a difference between a movie and a film?
I don't think so. Isn't it just kind of... just kind of the same word?
Well, I mean, you could argue that some things are, oh, you made a movie, that's nice, versus you made a film.
Oh, I see it the other way.
Interesting.
I say you made a movie,
well, I mean, again, just because you made a movie and it got into theaters and it got like, I mean, you could call Jennifer's Body a movie. I would not necessarily call it a film.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
You're talking
so
about
movie
like,
is kind of like...
But that's a very opinionated thing, because some people would say Captain America is the best movie they've ever seen in their life. And they might actually say that it's a great film, too. Some people.
Captain America.
I'm not talking about myself. I'm just saying.
This Marvel.
So I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I understand like Scorsese. It's like I love Martin Scorsese.
Stop.
I love Martin Scorsese. I quote him often and everything like that. But in this case, he's full of shit.
Wow.
I was actually listening to a podcast recently where they were talking about that, and they were saying that the reason why Martin Scorsese said that was because he thinks Marvel movies and superhero movies in general are very predictable, and like the whole thing with film is that it should be good storytelling that's like, captivating and different and like takes risks. And he doesn't think
what's the epic risk and plot twist in any of his films? What was unpredictable about
Are we
any
really
of it?
going to go down the shade train?
I love Martin Scorsese, but again, I think that he's like a little on the pretentious side. And again, I like a lot of these people, and I get it. They earn their stripes. I have nothing against it. The man has done great films. He's done better. He's a better craftsman of film and cinematography than I could ever hope to be, and everything in 100 lifetimes probably. Actually, that's not true because I'd work my ass off, and like actually, if I just gave one lifetime and everything like that, I would probably beat him out of sheer effort because effort beats talent. But but my point is, and I'm making a joke, people. But anyway, because it's 2020 and we have to always put an asterisk and a warning label on our jokes.
Or put JKJK.
Or JKJK.
Yeah.
Just don't put Rowling after that.
Lord forbid. Let's not go there at all. Lord forbid we lose our sense of humor in 2020.
Did you just say don't speak her name?
Oh, Lord.
She who must not be named.
Yes.
Well, for the sake of things not devolving into identity politics, please don't speak her name.
All right, we just went down that hole.
Yeah,
well,
but yeah,
right.
I think Scorsese's like in a camp of people who nostalgically wax over a simpler time and their standards.
Simpler time. Here, I think my thing with that is there's obviously there's this idea of movies as like this vehicle for entertainment, and then there's this other vehicle for expression through art. Right?
I agree. That's where Scorsese's one for them, one for me came from.
It doesn't mean that there's one that's better than the other. Like some people like the kind of junk food, like fun stuff.
I definitely don't think that there is one that's better than the other. I was actually just talking about something earlier today because there's a lot of World War II films that are very, I would say that they're the types of films that have no historical accuracy whatsoever and are purely just for the emotional porn. So it's literally just the
cheap dopamine.
Exactly. It's just because you know exactly how it is that you're going to feel going into the movie. You want to feel sad. You know people are going to die. And so you go and you watch it anyway because you know that's what you're going to get for it. And then these films just exploit those emotions by creating those films that have no basis in reality, right? It's just purely made out of
Sucker Punches like that. Sucker Punches like that. You guys see the movie Sucker Punch?
Yeah, but I'm talking about World War II films.
Yeah, sure.
But is it bad that they're being made? Not particularly. I just don't like them, you know? I just would prefer if they didn't exist.
I like all the cheesy Friday the 13th movies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the deal.
I mean, they're garbage story-wise. They're garbage.
Oh, yeah. I love Final Destination. I go watch every single Final Destination film in theater. There is no other way to watch it unless you're going to theater.
Just to torment myself, because then I end up having anxiety for weeks, so yeah.
But it's also fun to watch with an audience, because everybody's got their own reaction to stuff, you know? But as far as, like, what is a movie, I feel like anything that is recorded on film that has a beginning and a middle and an end is a movie and a film.
So what would you say about like a YouTube video? Because
if it has a beginning and a middle and an end, then I would say that it's a movie. I would say that it is a film.
Casey Neistat made films until he made vlogs.
When did it change?
3 years ago.
So like after the daily vlog?
No, the
With
daily,
daily
vlog,
vlogs?
before the daily vlog, he made films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made films. He was a filmmaking YouTuber. He was a short story YouTuber.
Yeah.
And they were films. And when he went to making daily vlogs, he was telling stories and he was doing it in a cinematic fashion, but they weren't films. He was making serialized content. And he was doing it with the veneer of filmmaking. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that's not a criticism, it's an observation.
Yeah.
We should make more observations in life than criticisms. Tangent for another time.
Ooh,
I
I like that. I'll write that
yeah.
down.
Look how Danny is still on the screen.
And the thing is, it's interesting though because his career didn't take off in the YouTube world for making films. He had all these accolades for making films in the quote unquote real world. He had his awards. I think he had like an Emmy. He had sold his HBO series, he'd done commercial work. He had made his bones as a legitimate filmmaker and was part of the industry. And a lot of people don't realize that Casey Neistat was successful before YouTube. He just wasn't famous.
Yeah.
He was successful, wildly successful in the world of the industry and in that
Right.
space, and commercially successful. Like, he sold a series for millions of dollars. He made it. Like, he made it. He didn't make it when he got 1 million subs. He didn't make it when he got a silver play button. He felt the most fulfilled after a certain point of having felt like he peaked in the real world and transitioned to a place where he had ownership of his ideas and ownership of his expression with no limits and no guardrails and barriers between him and the person consuming his art.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening, we actually record this live on youtube.com/noassemblypod. And we've got people who are in the chat and often ask questions and participate and give us comments. So if you want to be a part of the show, you should definitely tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m.-ish, depending on whenever Roberto decides to show up.
8 p.m. Roberto Standard Time means 15 minutes late.
And we've got a question here from What Chef, or I guess, I don't know if it's really a question, but it's more so an observation posed as a question. Which is, well, you could say if you record on film, it's a film. Now with digital, they are movies. I would argue no, because I would say the kind of stuff that Becky and Chris make, I would say they're borderline short films. Like, they make short films and they make series as well. And that is shot on digital. They're not shooting on film.
I don't think the actual video.
But I think you would just call it short film. I mean, nobody calls them short movies.
They
Why not?
They have done short films, but their vlog style is cinematic in nature, and they apply a large amount of filmmaking ethos to it, whereas the standard talking head vlog style, hey you guys, YouTuber, is not applying the aesthetic or the principles or veneer of filmmaking at all. It's more closer to newsreel and editorial and commentary, and that's what most of YouTube is. Even the what used to be vlogging before Casey Neistat redefined vlogging for a generation and for a platform. Vlogging used to be what I do and what Hank and Green and John Green, the Vlog Brothers, do. And vlogging used to be what Zoella did. You called Hank and John Green the Vlog Brothers. You called Zoella vlogger. And that's literally sitting in your bedroom, hey, you guys. And that's what a hey, you guys YouTuber is. Matt Geeling, who is a YouTube educator and a coach and has done programming for large content networks like Frederator and so on and so forth. He did a thing where he contextualized the difference between styles and formats. And so the format of a vlog YouTuber used to be the direct-to-camera commentary format, which is opinion-based and personality-based, and it's talking head. So that was the format, which is the way that you make the thing. The format is the way that you make the thing, and it's those things. but vlogging shifted to this very cinematic style thing where before it used to be very light it used to either be commentary or documentary is what vlogging used to be. But then it became any of those things but with a layer of cinematography added on top of it. Does that make sense when I say it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everything gets its evolution, right? I mean, when film first started, it was just like, how do we capture these moments? And then it was like, oh, let's do like something weird because we got an opportunity here. And then it became kind of art. And then they started to add dialogue to it, where it's like, oh, they added story to it. And then, you know,
Sounds
it evolved
like
to, yeah, exactly. It's just like everybody kept adding to it. And eventually it evolved to, you know, what it is today. Which is, I'm very curious to know where entertainment will go, you know, 100 years from now.
AR.
Yeah, but and you
Living
know,
AR stories, basically LARPing on another level.
yeah. I mean, it's basically what they do in the Hollow Suites on Star Trek. Is like there
LARPing.
are no actors. You are the actor. You go in and you're just, you know, you're part of this reality. For a short moment in time.
If it wasn't for COVID, I would want to, right now, I would love to just throw money and have investors for a business that literally is based on the idea of LARPing, but taking it to an AR, an augmented reality level,
Right.
and creating an AR playground wherein people can live out those things whenever they want and just come and do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if done properly, it could also be streamed and made entertainment for people, or that can be produced afterward, like you know, rotoed and all those things to where it plays out. That would be so freaking dope.
By the way, Otto Crosswind in the chat says that they have some original ideas for an Animator Guild 2021 animated short film contest entry, which I definitely think you should do, Otto. That sounds really cool. I think it's so awesome. Like, there's so many different little contests and things like that, which definitely there was not even like a quarter of the ones that exist today when I started my venture into film.
Nor the technology being accessible and affordable
right
to young people or working class people. Today, you can get animation software that's pretty decent, that's free or under $100. You can never do that. That's why I failed to become an animator. You know, I was too broke.
Right. And I mean, just about the time when I started doing film, there were some animation softwares that were like, people were putting out, you know, little things like that. But what you could do for free was very limited, very limited. But it is very cool. But it also it tells me there is no excuse.
Yes.
like when
you
I
and
started,
I are very passionate about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I started, it was very much like, you know, there really were a lot of blocks. There really were a lot of roadblocks. And it's not to say that it was impossible, but it was just very
massively limited.
Right. It was a lot more challenging, not as accessible.
Not even
but
close.
now there's definitely no excuses. Like, if you want to make a short film, like, all you've got that's stopping you is you. Like, really.
No excuses. None.
No excuses.
I take no excuses.
Wait, Romina, I want to ask more questions. I'm just curious, like, what sort of experiences you had, like, specifically when you were in LA.
Yes,
are we talking about the Illuminati or
regale us with regale us with the reality of the filmmaking industry.
Yeah.
What it takes, what it's like.
I guess I feel like okay. Do you have a specific question, Audrey?
I need to get a feel of more.
What was it like to try to get your foot in the door?
Okay, it wasn't. It was. So when I first started, I was very much. I've always been the type of person that's just been like, I don't really care about what's stopping me, or like, I don't feel like I have anything that's stopping me or being in the way. I never felt like, because I'm a girl, people are going to treat me differently, or I'm going to have less opportunity. Like that was never even on my mind, like ever. It was never in my mind. I never knew that was a thing that people complained about until many years later. And when I started producing, I was in charge, and this was like, I think I was maybe 21, 22 when I produced my first, maybe 22, when I produced my first feature film. So this is a 90-minute movie that I produced. I was the producer, the only producer on this. And when I did this, I mean, I had a crew of like anywhere between 30 to 45 people every day. I mean, every day it kind of changes depending on, what scenes we're filming and stuff like that, if we need more people or less people. But it was like, to me, when I was on set and I was making the calls, people were listening to me and doing what they had to do because I was in charge. Like, it didn't matter that I was 5'2" and that I was a female. Like, nobody cared. Everyone knew that if they didn't follow the rules, they weren't going to come to set the next day. So it's very much like, if you don't assert yourself and don't, show that you are confident in yourself and your abilities, then people will walk over you. But I think that goes to say for whatever you are, female, male, non-binary, it doesn't matter what you are or what you identify as. Like, if you aren't confident about who you are and what you are presenting, then you will get walked all over. Because people don't have time to waste. They don't have time to waste there, It's like, if it's not you, it's the next 20 people that are in the lobby waiting to come in. And that's just, and you kind of just accept that reality. Plus, like, I was doing acting as well. And like, you go into a room, like, producing is one thing, but it's very interesting going into a room for a job interview where everybody looks exactly the same as you. Where there's only very slight differences, either in height or in weight or eye color. It's a very bizarre experience where you really go in there and you're like, well, what are my chances of getting this role? Because is it really based off of how I look? I mean, they just wrote on the script that they wanted a blonde or they wanted a redhead and like whatever, that's what a script looks like, is they just write, we just want this person, 20 something and whatever. Like, they don't, and then if you like, and when they send out these casting calls, you have all these agents who send in. I've been on the other side of the table where I get all of the agents submitting their talent, and I'll get thousands of actors being submitted for one role. And after getting all those 1,000 submissions, I would sit through them and I would look at every single profile and I would bring that number down to maybe 50 people. Out of like 3,000, without even seeing them, bringing them into the room without ever talking to the actor. I would just bring it down to that low of a number. And that's me. And the reason that I had to do that is because you only get a certain amount of hours to audition people and to rent a studio and to have them come in and read lines and stuff. It'll take hours just for one role to read a bunch of people. So like, you have to get those numbers down. You can't bring in 3,000 people to read for one role, especially when you have a movie that has like 20 different roles, right? You're going to be spending like a whole month just auditioning people. We don't have time for that. So first, like, bringing the number down to like only 50 people coming in to audition. Already that's like 2,500 people who just lost. They just lost. They didn't get to go in. They didn't even get to interview for this job. Yeah. And it's all based on either their photo, if their agent called, because sometimes I would ignore a profile and their agent would actually call me and be like, hey, like you definitely need to check out this person. And then I would move them from the not coming into interview pile to the come in and interview pile just because their agent called. And that's like one in like, every 200. So
being an actor sounds rough, dude.
It is.
That's so like,
and it's
a lot.
You know,
my best friend's trying to make it. He's done some stuff, but yeah, it's rough. Like, oh, Christ.
Sounds rough.
I mean, it's definitely humbling to be on both sides of the table because, you know, as an actor, you go in and you're like, oh man, I got this. Like, I'm perfect for this role. You know, like if the character's name was Romina, like that's it, man. Like that's me. You know what I'm saying? But then you go in there and then you go into this room and there's 20 other girls who look exactly like you and maybe even sound like you, you know, who talk like you and make the same jokes as you. And that's weird, you know? But being on the other side of the table really humbles you because then you get to see like, oh, you know, the casting director isn't just being a jerk and ignoring me every time. It's just that they're seeing 5,000 other people that look exactly like me. So how are they ever going to choose, you know, unless someone calls and says, oh, you got to check out this girl. You got to give her the opportunity. But if you don't have anybody vouching for you like that, it's tough. And even when you do have someone vouching for you, like none of the people who had agents or managers who called me to put their actor in the room, none of those people ever got any of the roles that I auditioned for. And it wasn't because I didn't like them or because they were bad. They just weren't right for the part.
And it was you had to also make that call, like, which is not an easy thing to do. And again, I mean, this ties back to even something we were saying earlier about like haves and not have nots. It's like, I understand that like hearing like you didn't get it or you wanted something. I get that with like public speaking all the time. Like, why didn't I get picked for this event or this conference or this or that? And well, who else did they got? And whatever, you know, and you look at those things and it's hard to not take it personally.
Right.
But I think it's harder sometimes to be the person who has to make that decision.
It's even harder, and you would know, Roberto, because there's also speaking opportunities that are paid and there's ones that are not paid. And it's even harder when you're not getting paid and you get rejected. And you're like, what?
Oh my God.
I'm offering it for free and I'm still not getting, like, what is that?
No, that really pisses me off personally. I do take it personally. Like, and it's I feel like, oh, I put in my time. I've done almost 100 speaking engagements. I've done all of these things. I've you know, like had these great presentations that you can watch and see how, like, you know, the crowd responded to it. Like, Christ, what else do I have to do here? And like, you know, well, who else did you get? And then you look them up and you're like, really? But yeah.
So Aaron in the chat says, what's up with schooling for script writing? So I did UCLA online, a program for feature film screenwriting. And the reason that I did that was because, first of all, I was a music major for my first year at university. And after a while, I realized that I really hated everybody there. And I was like, what am I going to do with a music degree? Like, I'm not going to teach music. And everybody's so stuck up and smug. I don't want to be in this environment.
That'll do it.
And so
started to feel that way about the graphic design. Like myself, I started feeling that way around art students.
You know, people want to talk about like toxic environments, but man, that's like found everywhere.
College.
It's in a lot of places. I mean, you know, people always they make it seem like it's exclusive to their industry or like their department, and I'm like, no, man,
like platform or their niche or their like.
People be toxic everyar. That's like that's a global that's a global issue.
I have the cure.
The reason that I did the screenwriting thing is because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to focus on, and in order to do like more filmmaking and acting and stuff like that, I thought that it would be really great to study screenwriting, because that way I could actually learn about the dissection of storytelling and how to build a story and all of that stuff. And I thought that it was beneficial for me. because at that time, there were no other resources for me to learn this aside from going to a program with UCLA and going through this program. Now, if it was me right now and I'm like, oh, I'm interested in screenwriting, I would not sign up for that program. I mean, I might, because it was affordable and, you know, whatever. But I feel like I could get the same amount of resources by watching several YouTube channels that do break down scripts. And there's actually a lot of screenwriting softwares that have their own courses too, because, you know, they want to teach you not only how to use their software, but to teach you how to use it appropriately. And so they'll teach you, you know, screenwriting formats and like how to build a story and, you know, the 3 arcs and like all of that stuff, right? Acts.
You can also go to Skillshare.com.
You can also go
Who is not sponsoring the podcast. Who is not sponsoring
Udemy.
I don't like Udemy. But
hey, don't
go on masterclass.
Man, don't trash my Udemy, man. That's where I got my course.
Put it on Skillshare.
I've had so many problems putting my courses on Skillshare. They keep taking my course down.
A tangent.
Really?
All right.
And it's so weird because they pay well. Like I've talked to friends that pay well.
I'm gonna keep trying, but I think I have to make something different for Skillshare.
You might
for Skillshare.
That's true. You might, because like
they keep finding stuff that's wrong with my course, and
you might
like,
have to make something specific. Yeah, repurposing. Well, I mean, I think that's a problem with repurposing content in any platform. To be honest with you, that's why I'm so. Oh, I'll just make something original to the platform, and I'll just like, you know.
Well, the thing that they don't like is that I'm using the same intro and outro, and so they're like, "Oh, you can't have duplicate videos," and so I'm like,
"Yes, I think part of that though. Well, YouTube has that issue with you putting your old, like taking stuff and putting it on another channel. Like YouTube has that same reusing content, and a lot of people, frankly, are abusing reusing and repurposing. So I get why that's a thing. So like,
I totally understand it too. I'm just very frustrated because I keep going back and forth with customer support, and I keep making the changes that they want me to make,
and it's never enough.
And like one time they actually came back and they were like, "Oh, it's all fixed. You're like this class and this class." And I was like, "That wasn't even the class that was the problem." I'm like, there's like a real big issue with like the customer support here. Like I'm trying to work with you guys.
I think most of these platforms have customer support problems, to be very real with you. I think that's their biggest, I think that's one of their biggest flaws. I think that like out of all, because here's the thing, the platforms mostly work. I don't know what everyone's bitching about. Most of these platforms work.
Yeah.
Most of the time. It's a miracle they work as well as they do when they're not being hacked.
So Diaz in the chat, he says Masterclass has some screenwriting stuff, and that they do. So Masterclass has a great Aaron Sorkin class.
Ooh, and I love Aaron Sorkin.
It's really, really good. He is a great teacher. And the way that he breaks stuff down is amazing. It's a little bit on the longer side. It's one of their longer courses, but it was, I think it was the first one that I signed up with, Masterclass with, and we'll put links to all this stuff in the description so you guys can check them out.
And for the audio folks, they'll be in the show notes, I assume, Audrey?
Yes.
Well, she'll just copy.
I remember.
Well, you'll copy. It'll be in the description, so you can just.
If you put in the description, I'll remember.
We'll start putting like affiliate links in our descriptions.
I need to start making notes to remember. No, Romina. Okay, how I have a specific question.
Oh.
Like I'm more curious about. I guess like if you could like fill in the gap between like college and then getting started. Like how did you get some of your first? Like how did you first get started? I guess is the question.
So when I first got started, it was because my whole goal was to do acting, and so I was doing acting. And that was when I was still a music major, which because I was doing acting, I was going to auditions. And because of that, I actually missed a couple of my classes. And my choir class wanted to mark me as incomplete. They wanted to give me an incomplete mark on my report card because I had missed a number of classes. And I wasn't sick or skipping or anything. I missed because I was going to job interviews, right, for acting. And it came to a point where like I was crying and I was like, what am I going to do? Like I'm here, I'm like trying to do the school thing, but then I'm also trying to do the work career thing. Like I don't
participation-based grading and scoring is bullshit.
And it was choir, Roberto. Like this is the most stupid thing in the world. Choir. Do you understand? Like it wasn't like biology. It wasn't physics.
Which you should never have to effing take to do the thing that you're doing. Like there's no reason if you are not going to be a engineer, a chemical engineer specifically, or go into the medical field or any of that shit, and even for general purposes for anything else, if you're not going to be an engineer or this or that, like why do you have to take prerequisite math, English, science, chemistry, any of this bullshit?
Well, that's where the U.S. is dumb.
Like no, like just teach you how to do your damn job.
It's like a lot of European schools don't do that. Or Canada. Like they don't.
Yeah, no wonder they kick our ass at everything and we're number 13 at every damn thing. And then we beat our chest about being number 1 and everything like that. It's like what, number 1 in taking participation trophies? Number 1 in the oppression Olympics?
Oh.
Yeah, I said it.
All right.
I mean,
we're going to have to talk about that next time.
Exceptional at what? Losing?
Well, I think that
I hate losing. That's why I stopped. Like, you realize I'm a long-suffering Panthers fan. Like, all I do is apparently be on losing teams. Freaking Cam taking my Super Bowl from me.
Speaking of losing, so because I didn't want to lose,
I can't with these segments. Every time. Speaking of losing.
Well, I mean, I just want to answer your question quickly. So from doing the acting thing, I think like the producing thing just kind of fell into my lap because I had to write myself into Hollywood. There weren't like I wasn't just going to get the job just by going to an interview and waiting for the phone to ring. And so I started to make my own stuff. First of all, I was on YouTube. I was creating videos, and this was back in 2006 and 2007. So I was making YouTube videos. And then on top of that, I had people who contacted me, like just through friend groups and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, we have a script, like, let's just do it, and like all this stuff. And I kind of just got tossed into the producer role. I guess I was just really good at telling people what to do.
Well, also you're really organized. I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Also networking. It's a culmination of all these different skills which make a producer. I mean, if you're good at networking and you just know people, like who can hold the camera, who can hold the mic, and who can, who knows Susie Sue, who can play the lead role. Like it really just comes down to all of those little skills. But if you have, but like putting all those skills together, I was able to like jump into doing the whole producing thing, and then plus I was also doing YouTube as well. So it just all kind of came together in like a very weird way, and I just kind of let life take the helm, I guess.
Yeah. Cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's
just let life
how
take
most
the
people
wheel.
get started. Like it's literally just like friends making stuff, and then that friend introduces. Like it's always kind of this.
Yeah, and you know what, Audrey?
Viral.
Sometimes it's not friends. Sometimes it's very horrible people, but that's
horrible
just the
people who
nature of it.
respect your talent.
Maybe so, Roberto, or people who respect your talent and are great, and then end up being horrible people.
Well, they were already horrible. They were already horrible people. They just
showed themselves afterwards.
There's that. I mean, they make no mistake. Make no mistake. They were horrible people, and they didn't have good intentions. But the thing is, they helped you because they felt it could help them, which means that you had value. I explained to a friend of mine who was talking to me about people always stealing her ideas and profiting from them, and you know, and I made a point to where I was like, it's like, you realize that like thieves don't go for somebody, like you have all these self-worth issues, and you have all these issues where you don't believe you're a worthy person, or that you can do anything, or that you have any ability or talent. So why is it people keep robbing you? Why do people, it's like people don't go and steal where there's nothing of value. They don't go and they don't snatch from the poor. They're coming for your riches. They know that you have something of merit and of worth and of value. And yet you don't know that. You don't know that. But these thieves in your life, these toxic people in your life, they know exactly how valuable you are. And that's why they keep stealing from you. That's why they keep robbing from you. That's why they keep sucking up your energy, sucking up your time, and trying to siphon from you, because you have something worthwhile to begin with. And that was a complete game changer. And she was like, I had never considered that at all, that I actually should think more highly of myself, or I should like look at myself differently, because you're right. Why would they, like, look at all the value and look at all the benefit they got. And you're right. No one would steal from me if I didn't have good ideas. Why do I down myself for not having these degrees or this education or this or that? If I didn't have good ideas and if I wasn't a smart person, why would everyone keep stealing from me?
And there is a lot of that. There is a lot of that in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Wait, so-
what were you going to ask, Audrey, before you
I
were
was just gonna
rudely interrupted?
I was just gonna ask,
This is the
if you have
quietest
any,
I've ever been on the podcast.
if you have any like crazy stories. Because I feel like last time we were talking. No, but I feel like last time we were talking about. You were talking about something, and we were talking about.
I was talking about the Illuminati. I mean, we could go down the Illuminati route, but I feel like that's its own separate. That's like you're asking me to dive into conspiracy territory there.
No.
Someone
asked a good question. Romina, would you produce another film?
Aaron, would you produce another film? Yeah, I would. I think it would have to depend on who I'm working with. It is a lot of work. It also depends. First of all, it depends on what the story is, because I've already done enough producing where I've done films that I didn't really like or really didn't care too much about, but I did it, one, because I needed it for the resume, or I just needed to do it, either for the money or just to be a part of a project, to feel like I was part of a project. But at this point, I would probably only produce another film if I actually believed in the people, like if my friends were directing it or had written it or something, or were acting in it, stuff like that. If Roberto is making a movie, then I'll produce it. Henry asked, what do you think is the best age to get into acting? How old is too old to start an acting career? I don't think there is a too old to start an acting career, because there's old characters and they need to be filled. So I think that at any age it's appropriate. I'm kind of like on the fence as far as like child actors are concerned. There's a fine line of like what kid actually wants to be acting and what kid is there because their mom had a dream that was never fulfilled as a young person, and so they're taking it out, and they're trying to.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
child actors end up always being like, most of them always end up being messed up later as adults.
Well, I think that's a generalization. I think it's more so like not so much messed up.
I think it's a statistic.
More so resentful of certain things that they might have been doing, and like maybe they didn't necessarily. I mean, believe it or not everybody wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants every moment of their pubescent self, recorded on film.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that it's complicated because it doesn't necessarily make the parents bad people.
No.
it's very complicated, and the fact that Hollywood can be a very dangerous place. It can be a very dangerous place just because of how many toxic people there are. And people who, like Roberto was talking about earlier, they just want to take what is valuable because they know that it's valuable, and that they
and
can
you might
take
lack
it.
the ability or the mental or emotional bandwidth to resist, or not have the
Right.
leverage, or
And
like,
children are the most vulnerable, the most susceptible to that kind of.
and a lot of times their parents don't even know how to protect them because their parents are not anymore, to be honest,
Right,
in
they're
that
not any
world.
more
They're not
equipped for
educated
that.
or wise to whatever
Right.
they might think they are, and so
Right.
no, like, not
Yeah.
these people who do it for a living, not these people who are in these trenches and have survived this toxic environment.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really great question. And what do I think is the best age to get into acting? I would say if you really want to do it, 16. I'd say 16 is a pretty good age. I think for the most part, most 16-year-olds have enough cognitive development that they are able to stand up for themselves. Maybe not to, most sharks, but they're still able to decide what it is that they want for themselves. They're not being manipulated by their parents to pursue a career. But then again, like I've also heard of young child actors who are so grateful that their parents were able to create this really great career for them. And maybe they quit when they got to 18 years old, and then suddenly they went to college and did something different. And now they have all this money saved up from all of the work that they put in for, 15 years of their life.
Jack Lloyd decided he didn't want to be an actor anymore for a while.
And it's really, I mean, is there a good age for it? I don't know. I feel like that's really up to each individual and what they can handle.
Too old to complete the training. Slight pivot on that. I don't necessarily believe people should be YouTubers until they're at least 16 years old, unless their
I
parents
believe
are
that
heavily involved. And sometimes even.
I mean,
then.
I have a huge like I'm on the fence with child actors. I have a huge problem with vloggers, daily vloggers, and family vloggers.
Oh dear God! And I have friends that are in that world, and it's like, I have some issues or concerns and reservations.
And they aren't even doing anything bad in the sense of like they're not like purposefully exploiting their children. They're just filming everyday life.
It's setting them up for failure in a lot of other ways, and it's psychologically conditioning them to a world that revolves entirely too much around other people's opinions and judgment.
Yeah, I mean, and not just that. Imagine like you've grown up and you've seen, like, for the family vloggers who vlog every single day,
all the intimate moments and memories of your life.
Yeah, you look up at your dad and he's pointing a camera or a phone at you at all these important moments in life, right?
And you have to wonder how much of this is because they love me and how much of this was for content.
Right. That's the thing.
Was my life contrived entirely for its entertainment value to other people, or were any of my experiences real? Because people say pics or it didn't happen. It's like, no. If there are pics, maybe it didn't happen. Maybe it wasn't real. If this was contrived for content and to be shown, maybe it's not real. Maybe it's not your experience. Maybe it's just something that exists for the audience, and it's not your actual life, and it's just a piece of content. And that's like, and who woke me up to that was Casey. Like, Casey, like, and I were having a conversation. I think we were having it at either 368 or at one of these conferences. And he was talking about the pivot he made, and also why his younger children, his daughters, he doesn't show them like their actual face on camera, and nobody knows what they look like. Because he thought about it and like how much he shared of his son Owen's life before Owen had the ability to really say whether he wanted that or not. And he thought differently of it. It's why Gary Vee doesn't. We've never seen his kids. We know they exist, but we've never seen Xander and Misha,
And we don't need to.
Yeah, we don't.
You know, I don't have anything wrong with recording important moments and, you know, doing all that stuff. I have a plethora. Like I've got so many pictures of like random moments and I'm like, why? Why does this picture exist? But
we don't
I'm
vlog
glad
when we hang out.
Right, we don't. And I'm very intentional about that too. You know, I've got friends who will always pull out a camera and I'm like, you know, not everything needs to be a YouTube video. Not everything needs to be an Instagram post. Like to me it's just like I just want to enjoy, you know, life, and I just want to have fun with my friends and have these moments that are going to make me more insightful and give me perspective on different things. And I can't be totally present if I'm worried about like what hashtags I'm going to use for this picture that we just took, you know?
Exactly.
Do you guys know Sarah's Day?
Sarah's Day?
No.
She's a fitness YouTuber. She's from Australia, and her and her boyfriend recently had a baby, and they've been kind of documenting like that entire process, like very openly. And even just watching her vlogs, I'm like, I feel like this is going to backfire in a couple years when the kid starts to grow up, because I don't know, it's just kind of like I get why they're doing it, like because they want to document. Like, they want to have the memories to look back on, and he's a part of their life.
But to share them with people is different. It's different to have home movies. It's different if you have home movies. We have a few floating around, and I'm trying to convert them to digital. Like, we have a few home movies from when I was little that I want to convert to digital, because there's almost nothing preserved aside from photos of, like, my childhood, aside from my memories, and I have, like, really good. And the thing is, I'm the kind of person that when I have kids, like, God willing, like, when I have kids... I probably am going to whip out the camera and film a lot of their life, but I'm not going to post it on the internet for other people. It's going to be preserved for us and for them and for their kids and stuff like that. Because but a lot of that has to do with the fact that I grew up watching the Wonder Years. Like, it has a lot to do with the fact that I love that in the Wonder Years, they end up showing those videos of a young, like, Kevin Arnold with his parents, and how, like, when he talks about his dad and how his dad used to be and how his dad is, like, the greatest man in the world and his hero, but then you see that he's an adolescent and he feels always nervous around his dad and intimidated by this, you know, grumpy guy that he used to build sandcastles with and that he used to play at the beach with, that he used to get in tickle fights with. It's just I like, you know, when I see that, I want that. When I see that, I want that. That's all.
Right. Plus, you also get a certain perspective, not only on your life, but also your family's life. Like when you're looking back through those pictures or through those videos, you're seeing events through whoever was behind that camera. And it does give you an interesting perspective on past events. And I think that
and living in a different time. Yeah.
If you are holding a camera right now or a phone, then you should definitely go to iTunes and give us 5 stars.
Nice segue into a plug, Romina.
Incredible.
Nicely well played, madam.
Have we gotten new reviews?
I don't know. I am about to create about 25 accounts just to start making some reviews here.
Romina, be efficient. Just outsource it to Fiverr and give us all those fake reviews that people use and everything that all the fake gurus do. And like, just do it fake guru style, right? Like, and I'm kidding. No one ever do that, by the way. And like, that's one of my pet peeves with Fiverr. Like, I could go on an entire episode rant about all the things. And by the way, at the same time, I want you guys to make extra money. You guys should absolutely get on Fiverr. Just don't do fake reviews and shit for money. Like, go and do actual work. Like, the on Fiverr, and like make some extra coin during Corona. I mean it sincerely that I have my beef with all the scammy things that people pay people in Fiverr to do. And at the same time, I love it for people doing voice acting. I love it for people doing green screen work. I love it for people making memes for people. Like, I could go on, but like,
and some graphic. I actually made I don't know if you've seen my logo.
Yeah,
my logo for my company.
Yeah, Animore, yeah.
I got that from Fiverr.
And I love these YouTube videos where people are like, oh, I paid someone $5 and I paid someone $50 and I paid someone $5. Like, I love watching that stuff personally. I want to do those videos myself. So it's like, sometimes I'm gonna trash talk Fiverr for the things they deserve to be trash talked for, and then other times I'm gonna be like, oh, you should absolutely get on Fiverr, or you should absolutely use Fiverr. Like it's weird relationship. It's like,
so Audrey, did you find any? Do we have any reviews?
So I just checked, and there's 4 reviews. 3 of them are from the people currently on this live stream, and there's 1 from a viewer. So if you guys have a phone right now, it'd be great if you could go leave us like a written review, not just a
definitely. Head over to the pod. Is podcast like the iTunes? Is that
it's
the only place
it's
people
its
can
own
leave
app.
reviews?
It's Apple Podcast now. It's Apple Podcast now. So you just do
that.
You can do it with.
Is that the only? Wait, my question was: is that the only place where people can leave reviews for podcasts? Because Spotify doesn't have reviews
Stitcher,
or ratings.
Stitcher Radio.
Spotify
should have
listen
reviews.
To Stitcher?
I don't know.
I don't think I've known anyone who's ever used Stitcher.
Allegedly. It's like people use Linux. It's like people who use Linux.
Well, I don't think there is any other. There's no other platform where people can leave us reviews, are there?
I'll look that up for a tutorial one day.
So let's be specific then, guys. Head over to podcasts.
Please give us a review.
Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review.
No, you have to
Or
say
you can
leave a
5-star
written
rating
review.
and leave us write us a custom review telling us how much you love us.
Because we've
Write
got
us a
6
review.
ratings, but we have 4 reviews.
I demand your love and attention right now. You must go to the interwebs and you must fight for the future of this podcast by leaving it a 5-star rating and a custom review telling us how much you love us.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because like Juanfer in the chat says he doesn't have Apple, so it's like, where are these people supposed to leave us reviews?
Juanfer,
why doesn't Spotify?
Juanfer, wrangle 5 of your friends who have Apple and get them to do this. Your emperor commands it.
It's like texting your friends, guys.
Just tell them to text them your review, and just tell them to copy and paste it.
No, because then it's gonna look like it's bought.
No,
we don't want that.
Why will it look like it's bought?
No, it'll be fake. It'll look fake.
No,
don't do that.
We don't want.
Why will it look fake if
you don't want?
No, we are like joking and memeing here. Do not give us fake reviews. Please do not do that.
No, this is his real review. He's just using his friend's account to post it. Why would that be fake?
Henry's giving us a great review.
Like multiple times the same one.
No, I'm saying he doesn't have Apple. So he writes, "This is the best podcast ever. Hey, buddy pal, can you post it on your account? Because I don't have Apple." That's not bad.
Okay, if it's one person, if it's one homie, then yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm just saying Juanfer can just go. No, I'm saying Juanfer contact one of his friends who's got Apple.
Yeah,
and like send him copy and paste. Send him his review and be like, "Hey, can you just like paste this on the podcast?"
I was like, this is too complicated.
I'm
out.
No.
All right.
It's too hard.
Henry says you got my great review. So Henry's leaving us a review on podcast on Apple. Yeah. By the way, that's No Assembly Required podcast. You'll find us. It's a yellow icon with a brain on it because we ain't got any brains. So only our cover art has brains. And What Chef says, No Assembly Required podcast is a great way to end my week. Working from home, this podcast helps break the silence in an empty house while I work. Wow, that's beautiful. That was actually kind of poetic.
Thank you, What Chef.
That was lovely. Well, if you guys want to wrap this up, I mean, unless you have any other specific questions, Audrey, do you have any wild stories?
How is that not a specific question?
There's too many, and a lot that I can't disclose publicly.
I don't know. Maybe I should have prepared some more specific.
Yeah, why this whole episode was about you. All right. Well, I guess
feel like I asked I don't know. It was really interesting. I like how at the beginning you just kind of ranted about a ton of different stuff about this industry.
And I shaded Scorsese.
Well, we're talking about 12 years or so. 12. Can I do math?
No.
Sure. Yeah, it's 14 years, but
Well, we'll round it up, right?
yeah, we're talking about 14 years of work in a single industry. So there's a lot to cover. But if you think about anything interesting, anything specific that you'd like to talk about in the future, you can let me know and we'll make that a specific topic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can wrinkle it up. But I think for now, I mean, I
One
don't have
day-
anything else to.
Yeah. And one day we can talk about all the ways I failed to be an animator and filmmaker.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's fun.
Animation is just really
Henry
fun.
says, I really enjoyed your time travel podcast about a month ago. You guys should do one on teleportation.
Ooh, I like you. Like
Yeah?
Henry.
Well-
Henry, you my boy. All
Should we
right.
talk about teleportation? Yeah, we'll talk about teleportation.
You know, they
talk
actually
about-
have done it. They've actually figured it out.
Being beamed. Yeah. That's a good one. I'm going to write it down. Teleportation.
That's
Where
the
would you
superpower I
go?
want.
Where would you go if you got teleported?
Everywhere.
Don't answer that question.
Everywhere.
Mars.
That's for the next episode. Not the next episode, a future episode.
I'm in all places at all times.
All right,
I
that's
think invisibility would be more fun than teleportation.
Invisibility. That's not even practical.
Yes, it is. Because it's one of the superpowers that's like not too obvious.
Do you realize how many ways and how many contingency plans I specifically have for dealing with someone being invisible?
You know, of all the things that I thought that she would get defensive over, I never imagined it would be invisibility.
Yeah, I have so many ways.
Microphone.
It's like the
If all someone has is invisibility, I literally have made so many ways to neutralize that power.
the thing
I
is,
mean,
you wouldn't know that I had it.
I already have plans in case someone is invisible, Audrey. I'm not even joking.
What was that side glance?
Like, I already have contingency plans for someone happening to be invisible or having an invisibility cloak. I'm not even joking. I already have a plan for that. It doesn't even matter if I was like specifically like you. Someone invisible is here because I've already planned. Like, yeah.
You wouldn't know I was there though.
No, that's the thing. I've already set it up so that I am not vulnerable to people with invisibility. I'm not joking.
Wow. Well,
I've prepared for this.
Well, there's no way we're gonna be able to prove
Audrey's
this theory
right.
wrong. So we don't have any.
Like at some point when I tell you literally my contingency plans for superpowers, you will realize why I am in fact a true villain.
all right. Well, didn't we already discuss the villain and the hero?
Yeah, we did that already.
The
last
topic
time.
has been already covered.
Yeah.
It's over and done with.
Well, we haven't talked about why villains should actually win.
Oh, Audrey didn't like that. All right, I'm ready. All
Add that to the list.
right. It's been
In the real
added.
world, villains would win, you know. You know what the hero's actual powers are? It's called plot armor. That's their real superpower.
Wow.
Okay.
This is a pretty good. And Otto suggests he enjoyed the Engineer Your Life episode, but that he'd like some more kind of life skills session, namely soft skills and other ways to be successful. That might be something we could.
We
kind of
should
talk
do like
about.
more polls on audience ideas because these are
Well, when they get us to 1,000 subscribers, we unlock the community tab,
great.
at
Ooh.
which point we can post polls and memes and all kinds of goodness.
Cough.
Do that.
Cough.
So,
So
you know,
don't
might want to
forget
take care of that
subscribe.
We're at 100.
and share the podcast and subscribe. You guys might want to
Ooh,
take care
yeah,
of that.
hit that subscribe button. And you know,
Smash
there's this icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. It looks like a bell. If you guys hit that, then you'll never miss an episode.
Well,
You
I
guys
wouldn't
can
go
come
that
hang
far.
out
I
with
wouldn't go that far.
Well, hey, Roberto, they don't know that. We're trying to help. Every little bit counts, right?
Yeah, smash that subscribe button for the YouTube algorithm.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell, guys.
so that you actually get the videos.
Yeah, because subscribe doesn't mean that anymore.
I actually genuinely I'm starting to believe that the like button is more important than the subscribe button in terms of you actually seeing content now.
What if villains already won?
Ah, ha, 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 ha.
Guys, we're gonna go down a tangent. Don't.
I'm putting that on the list. We're gonna be talking about that.
I mean, that one could get kind of spicy though for live.
Oof, Diaz says the bell has been rung. Ding.
Yay.
Thank you, Diaz, for ringing the bell. The bell for freedom. The bell for hope. The bell for prosperity. And What Chef says that they're going to be sharing this film to their filmmaking channel social account. So thank you for sharing.
Ooh.
Sharing What Chef? What Chef? I can't. There's too many. Oh no. Oh, Roberto's. Oh no. Roberto's.
No.
Roberto's
It's starting. Guys, run.
You know what you look like right now? Roberto, you look like a beekeeper.
I'm not amused.
Let's say shut down any.
I am not amused.
All right, this episode has gone off the rails. Before we kill any more citizens on this train, Roberto, do you have a fake outro?
Yes, I actually believe I do.
All right.
Hood comes off.
Yeah. Well, it would interfere with the mic down here.
Well, maybe you should do an intro next time as the Sith.
Oh, that
you
might be
come in
interesting.
and you just do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it very.
Well, maybe I'll
dramatic.
have my red lightsaber by then.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's do this. Thank you for listening to the No Assembly Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. Please like and subscribe at No Assembly Pod on YouTube. Please leave us a rating and review over on Apple Podcasts and anywhere podcast can be found, including Spotify and Stitcher Radio, if anyone actually uses that, and of course Google Podcast. Thank you for listening. Now, say goodbye to your host, Romina, formerly of Hollyweird, and of course, Audrey. Why did I just space on that one? Sorry about that.
Cat lover.
No.
No.
No, like Audrey Scorsese Ember. Yes, that's the reaction we wanted. And of course, your Emperor and Dark Lord of the interwebs, Roberto Blake. Thank you for listening. No audience members were harmed in the filming of this podcast, despite it being fully armed and operational. And so, we bid you farewell. Please visit us again at Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 15 minutes later for Roberto Standard Time. And we will see you once again. Thank you so much. NARP!